Hey, here's a wee walkthrough of the fourth programme, okay, from last week. Now this programme, it takes 5 meter readings. It's to do with your Wi-Fi, so it's just really trying to tell you if you've got a strong, medium or a poor signal, and asks you for a reading between 0 and 100, and it's to be 2 decimal places, so we'll be looking at using float. It's going to be 5 meter readings, and if it finds the signal is 80%, then it's going to be strong signal, and if it's less than strong signal and more than a poor signal, so a poor signal is less than 30%. So if it's between 30 and 80, then that's a medium signal. Then over on the right hand side, it then just takes in the meter readings. You want to make sure it's validating, just to make sure that if you're typing in a value less than 0 or above 100, it will actually ask you to re-enter it, and then it assigns the different codes. Okay, so medium, poor, strong, strong, strong. Right. So what we've got here is we've got the first function is going to get the actual readings. Okay, so we've got a function called getReadings where we are declaring an array, and the array is going to be single or float, and it's 5 elements, and then it just goes through the array, so it loops for the number of elements in the array, okay, and it asks you for the value. Now this obviously is input validation, so if it's less than 0 or above 100, I'll print out an invalid reading message. I'll also ask you to re-enter it. What you might find is that bit's missing from your code, because obviously you're having to just make wee changes with the code, okay, so that bit might be missing, and if it's missing, what will happen is when you enter an invalid code, an invalid reading, it'll ask you for it again after printing out the error message, and it'll crash, okay, so you're wanting to keep it consistent, because it is float that you're asking for to store it in the index whatever within this array. Okay, so obviously you've got your main program down here, so the main program is saying, right, get, so these are call statements. You're not having to pass any parameters to it, because you're just expecting that function to pass the array called reading list. Okay, so it says get reading or get readings, and it runs this, and then it returns back reading list. Okay, now it then saves it reading list. Then will say, well, let's round readings, right? So it'll go and it'll round each number. So if you did type it in a decimal place, again, these wee scenarios are a bit contrived, okay? But it's really about you being able to split these programs into functions, you being able to pass parameters to each other, okay? So you're going to round readings, and you're giving it the reading list, okay? So this is the actual parameter, and it returns after it's taken in the readings and rounded it. It returns it back to reading this. So you're essentially passing this to the function. The function then rounds it all and then rewrites over it, essentially. Okay, so that's getting passed and that's getting returned. Okay, you're then saying, well, we're going to create the pattern, so you're now going to pass this newly rounded reading list, and then this will go through each element looking at these if statements, okay, and if the if statement is this condition is true or satisfied, it will then make it a strong signal, okay, and there's a wee pattern, so the wee pattern is just basically what's going to be output, so it will concatenate, so it just adds on to the end of the pattern, so the pattern's getting bigger and bigger. For each element, it will add a new letter onto the pattern, so there's going to be 5 letters altogether. Okay, if we're taking in 10 meter readings, you'd be going through all 10, and the pattern would be 10. Okay, so it then returns this pattern. Okay, so actual parameter, and then it passes it the output of this function, it then saves it into this pattern. Okay, and then the last one is you're then going to be displaying it. Okay, so you're passing it the 2 bits of data, or the 2 data structures that you're wanting to output, and it then just prints it out to the screen. You're not having to have it return anything to the main program. That's why there's no equal sign here. Okay, so you'll find that when you're taking in values for the first time, you won't have any parameters here. Okay, and when you're actually displaying it, you're not going to be returning any values to it. So it's really sandwiched in between the get inputs and display. This is when you're actually be doing your parameter passing. Okay, and that's really that program. Now what you'll probably find is some of these arrays, they've actually maybe got a different name, and that's just to make sure that you're reading through the code and are aware of what each program's actually, or each function's doing. But hopefully that's giving you a wee heads up about that one. Okay, so 4 functions, and your functions are up the top. Okay, and that should be what your output's looking like. Make sure though that when you're actually testing a program, you do put in invalid reading, just to make sure the actual input validation's working. Okay, because I'm seeing a lot of programs, if you do type in the wrong answer, then you type in the right, it crashes. Okay, so just make sure that you're actually testing it before submitting, and hopefully that's helped you.